Hey everyone, this is Ross, and today I want to talk sprays for a minute. Here in a backyard orchard setting, we need to be spraying certain trees at certain times of the years, and sometimes you can get away with it depending on where you live, and certainly spraying every year or using certain products is probably not necessary, but for certain situations I think it is. I want to show you guys my peaches right now, and what we had done is actually mixed up some Surround. We also mixed up some copper because my peach tree here is showing signs of peach leaf curl, which is really more of a cosmetic thing. It's a fungus. It's a disease that really is kind of just a detriment to the tree, and it kind of inevitably will happen if you live in a really humid climate. You can get obviously more variety. You can get a variety that is disease resistant. You can see this one here, this tree right next to it, which is this is my Red Haven. Actually, the Red Haven is showing zero signs of it, but the Alberta right next door is showing quite a bit. And what I've done is you can come in here and also take off these infected leaves, especially the ones that are really bad. Here's a really good example of what it looks like when it gets quite bad. So take this off and dispose of this. What you can come in here is kind of spray it with a fungicide to help keep this disease at bay. You know, otherwise it's kind of like a battle that you're always going to have to fight. You can kind of get rid of it, and you have to really wait till the tree goes dormant, which is really a bit of a shame, but you know, it's this point we're just trying to maintain the disease. I'm not really trying to get rid of it. I don't want it to get much worse, but this is something that I just have to deal with. The other thing we have to deal with here in this climate is plum curculio. And plum curculio we talked about last year on the peaches. It really affects a lot of stone fruits, and then it comes in here and bites the fruit, or it puts its larva in the fruit, and a lot of that fruit then gets a hole in it and eventually falls off the tree, or it does hang on the tree for a decent amount of time. And that plum curculio eventually continues and completes its life cycle. So if that fruit falls on the ground, you got to pick it up, you got to get rid of it. We're really going to be on top of that. We were, especially last year, because I don't want the plum curculio to be a thing every single year, but at the same time, spraying Surround is what we did, which is a kaolin clay, all organic. Same thing with the copper that we sprayed, also organic. But they're kind of, you know, that really helps with that plum curculio. But in actuality, I probably didn't have to spray either of these things, because what's going to end up happening is that very soon the plum curculio is going to come in here, do its thing with the peaches, hopefully not too bad, and that's going to kind of thin out my fruits a bit naturally. I'm not going to really have to worry about it, because I'm going to have to just come in here anyway, clean up those fruits, take out those fruits that are infected, and that'll sort of, in a way, naturally thin out my tree. And then whatever's left over, we'll continue to thin that if we need to, if at all. And then these peach trees will be totally fine. I didn't really have to spray, but I did. And this is kind of just one little example of, yeah, you could have sprayed, but I also could have not, you know? And that's just the kind of thing I want to mention, is that when we are spraying, that's what we want to think about, is this really necessary? And then if you come in here to my grapevines, I think this one is absolutely necessary. We did a similar thing, Surround, copper, but we also added in something called Spectracide Immunox, which is an inorganic spray. And this is the only inorganic spray that I use here in the backyard so far. It just seems to be an absolute necessity, I should say. You know, this stuff really gets rid of black rot almost completely, which is really important, because all of last year I had all these little clusters of fruits. You can see how many clusters of fruits are forming now on these grapevines. You know, they got totally infested by black rot, and I barely got a crop. I really did. Between the birds and the black rot, it was almost nothing, and that was really disappointing, especially with the amount of clusters, how beautiful everything looked. So this year, we're spraying the Spectracide Immunox. You do this once a year. I'm probably going to do it once again because the disease is so bad. But essentially you wait for these new canes, these new shoots to come out of the cordons. Once they're about a foot in length and a lot of the fruit here is showing, then spray the new canes. And that will be enough to keep this thing at bay and actually get rid of the disease almost completely, which is kind of insane, but that's what it does. And we're just gonna have to come in here and wash the grapes before we eat them. But isn't that really something that, yeah, inorganic sprays, they're definitely not something you want to have to use in excess, but it's really incredible that there is an inorganic spray or something out there that can just completely eliminate black rot completely. I mean, that's just insane. So for me as a backyard grower, you know, I'm not going to be doing too much harm to the environment with these things, but you know, this is something that I wanted to mention, and it's a touchy topic with a lot of you guys, and it's not something I take lightly either. So this is just something that you guys need to be aware of. If you are going to spray something, read the label, pay in close consideration to the bees. If this is something that's going to affect bees, don't do it. And certainly ask yourself, is this necessary? And if it's not, then I think you got your answer. So that was today's episode, or today's video, guys. I'll catch you all tomorrow. All right, take care.